Hey listeners, there's a new podcast in town. It's called Boozy Blatherings. I know you're going to love it. It's a drunken vocabulary lesson. Learning while drinking. What could be better than that? It's hosted by the very entertaining Megan Mitlow. Look for it and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Here's a taste of it now.
Hi, I'm Megan. I know about 4 words and 3 of them are curses. Welcome to my new podcast, Boozy Blatherings. It's the perfect combination of drunk history and Merriam-Webster's word of the day. I'll be your host at this cocktail party where every week we'll have a new guest, we'll learn a new word, and we're going to have a lot of cocktails. So pour yourself a drink and get cozy because we're going to have fun.
Welcome to If This Bar Could Talk, a podcast about bartenders and the stories they have to tell, as well as the storied history of cocktails, spirits, and bars. I'm Blair Beavers, and here's your host, Leanne Sims.
Nigel, Vann, thank you for being here on our podcast. We miss you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I miss Columbus. I still refer to it as home. It's been almost 4 years, but every time I say home, I'm talking about Columbus, Ohio. So thank you for this chance. My bar just opened up, so we had a second shutdown, and then they were not allowing any indoor dining, or at least without food. So my place was shut down until this weekend. So a lot of people were excited to see us again. So we were pretty busy.
So how long has your bar been closed? Since last year?
Okay, so I worked at a place called Apogee. It was a rooftop bar in River North. It was like the downtown Chicago area. That is going to be closed indefinitely. So that closed down in March when we had the initial shop. I actually transferred over with the same company to more of their whiskey library called the Berkshire Room. I think they opened at the end of July, but then we had to close mid-October for the second shutdown. And they said that was going to be about 2 weeks. And so here it is 4 months later that we just opened up. So
wow. That's crazy. So I bet everybody was super excited to get back to their bar.
Agreed. I mean, and it took me a moment to get acclimated because we were pretty busy like right when we opened. And so I had to remind myself like where my mise en place was, where we keep these bottles. And again, I'm still the newer guy at this particular bar. And so I don't have the muscle memory yet. So it was good practice, but I was, kind of struggling a little bit. I can't go blindly grab these bottles like I would at the bar I was most familiar with. I'm like going through our cheaters and I'm like, oh, that's it right there.
And what part of town is that your new bar in?
So this is River North as well. It's actually just
Okay.
a couple of blocks away from the previous bar that I was at, but it's a completely different vibe. So I was working at the rooftop like night lounge area, which we had the DJ there, we had the patio bar, the indoor bar, and it was just almost like it's just under saying it's a club, but we were like 3 deep. So it's like me like making drinks and going, what can I get for you? What can I get for like that. And now this is like a slower pace. It's more for like a date night. You get there before or after your drinks or after your dinners, and it's really cool. It's a little laid back, so it's a different vibe. The music is definitely more chill. So
More of a lounge than a club.
yes, exactly.
Got it.
So it's fun. I think I'm a little bit versed, so this is good for me as well. So I can hang.
So I'm thinking back to when you were bartending here at M, and you told us that you were going to be moving. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that what really was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back for you to move away was that you visited Chicago and you saw all of the spirits that they get that we don't have here. And so you wanted to expand your knowledge. Is that right? And has that, how's that worked out?
That is a fantastic memory that you have there. That's completely correct. So I did the Cointreau competition, and I won the one in Columbus, and it brought me to the finals in Chicago. And then I went to this bar. I believe it was called Johnny's. It was like a breakfast spot, but they also had like a mezcaleria attached to them. So when I went there, their entire back bar were just different mezcal spirits. And so with in Ohio, we're a controlled state. I couldn't name more than 5 mezcal or agave spirits that we had there. And so for me to actually go to a bar and their entire back bar was just focused on that, like it blew my mind. Because at that time I was bartending for 10 years. But this was like a whole new world. I felt like Alice in Wonderland. Like I saw stuff I didn't even know existed. So I was like, I have to, learn more about this. And so, yeah, I moved out here. And I got exposed to a lot of different spirits. Yeah, I did. And it's been great. It's been it's definitely opened up my mind to a lot of new stuff. But I still have the heart to the most basic stuff too. Those are different niches here and there. And I like to know a little bit about everything except everything about one thing. And I think I'm successful out here so far.
Well, we've been following you on Instagram, and you've really done a lot since you moved to Chicago.
Yeah.
Tell us about all of the different, I don't know, what do you call it? Certifications, educational stuff.
Yeah. And you started at the aviary. So that's a great place to start.
Yeah, especially outside coming in. So again, when I came for the Quancho competition to Chicago, it was one of those competitions where you had a booth and everyone could come to you and try out your items and whatnot. And I just met a lot of people there, had a great time. And I came home, and then a lady that I met, she said, "Hey, I actually work for the aviary, and I was curious if you were interested in joining the team." And so me knowing what I knew about the aviary, I was like, that's a place like I didn't feel like I would ever apply, but for you to come to me, I'm like, okay. I was like, give me a couple of months, let me like sell myself, and I'll come out there. And it was a great experience. It was it's very different than what I was used to, and I knew that going in. So it's not a bar that you go and you're front facing with your guests, interacting, making cocktails based off of their palates. Everything is already kind of done. It's very efficient for the high volume that we do. We kind of like batch our cocktails prior to opening, and then we have different stations. So if you're familiar with like what things look like in the kitchen, where you have your sous chef, your dessert station like that, it very much mimics that. And so like my station will be responsible for making like the same 4 cocktails that's off that menu, same with the other stations beside me. So it was just really cool to see how that worked. So I spent a year there, and I had a great time. I learned a lot of stuff, and it was very much working with chefs and understanding flavors, which was a great takeaway for me. But ultimately, like I miss being personable with the guests, and so I found a position where I could go back to like just sit at my bar, tell me what you like, tell me what's going on, and we can have a conversation. And I like building that relationship. Yeah, so the bar that I worked at after the aviary was called Apogee. So they were known to be like, they made really cool craft cocktails, but a high volume spot. Again, it was more of the club vibe, but it was a really cool laid back experience, and especially with the views, you can see the city. So it was like one of the top rooftop bars in the city, which was really cool for me to like just meet everyone that was around. Other than that, like I said, I worked at the Berkshire Room. So I'm gonna brag a little bit, because a lot of bartenders, like they switch jobs like every 6 months. So I'm coming up on my 4th year here, and I'm only at my 3rd position, and I'm at my 3rd one because I was forced to leave the 2nd one. But yeah, so my Instagram name is Nigel of all trade, because I like to mimic saying I'm the jack of all trades. So working at our wine list, that was very, very new and foreign to me. So I started bartending at Cheeseburger in Paradise, and we had a red wine, a white wine, and we had like a blend. It wasn't even a rosé, it was just some random thing, and I think it was just called colored wine or something like that. So knowing the difference of the cabs that from Oregon, California, from around the world, I didn't know how to speak to my guests about that. So I forced myself to go into my sommelier, and I just learned what I felt like I needed to learn to be a good server, be a good bartender at that position. Unfortunately, so I did my intro, and that was it. I felt like I didn't need to know more than that. And if you take your intro, it actually expires after 3 years if you don't continue the program. And it was right when the program or my certification expired that I was like yearning to go back to wine and like learn more about it. So that might be in the works later on this year. But I've also studied beer. I did the whiskey steward. I was versed with a lot of gins and other spirits too. So I like to know a little bit about everything, because I want to be able to talk a little bit about everything when I'm meeting someone new at my bar. So I don't really have my major focus. I know I have a lot of friends who are like really into the rum and that's their thing. But for me, I just want to, be around it all.
Do you have a favorite?
Do I have a favorite? It depends on the time of the year and the day. Right now, I'm going to say whiskey. It's been around my life a lot lately. I'm still loving my classic old fashioned using Knob Creek rye. Nothing really special with that. But yeah, if I had to choose right off the bat, it's going to be whiskey. Second will probably be like a nice aged rum.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's kind of seasonal for us too.
Yeah.
This is the whiskey time of year,
I'm
and
drinking a Vicaray right now.
Oh yeah, I made myself a black Manhattan twist. So
Nice.
Nice.
yeah, so this is Michter's rye, but I use a little bit of Brigetti, like the coffee liqueur, a hint of banane, some curry bitters, because I still like when I create cocktails, I like the whole like sweet with heat. So like curry bitters goes against that banana, and then a little bit of Fernet Minta is in here.
Nice.
And,
sounds delicious.
Yeah, I'm trying to create. So this is for like a cocktail competition that I'm doing, and I've never worked in the kitchen, you know, but I learned that I can make like a sugar cage with a ladle. So you just like make your own caramel and then like just drizzle it over the ladle, and then it takes that shape. And I'm gonna like kind of design it so it's a garnish in my my glass, and it's gonna come with like a little mallet, and like you crack it before you start drinking it. So
That's fun.
yeah, the drink is called like Foster Your Dreams is what I'm calling it. So it's just like, you know, you break the glass ceiling and, you know, go outside the box. So that was
I like it.
Love it.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, but 2020, it's been a year, especially for the hospitality industry. And I felt kind of guilty saying that it's actually been a great year for me. I acclimated very quickly. I didn't know what was going on because when we first closed, they were saying like 2 weeks to a month max. And then, you know, on and off, it's been like 8 months. I'm just going to say it's been a year for me without work. But that being said, it kind of like forced me to grow professionally because I had goals that I wanted to do in like 3 years and 5 years that I kind of already had started. So me working in the bars, especially in Chicago, our nightlife is a little bit longer than back in Columbus. So we have 2 a.m. bars, 4 a.m. bars, and then on Friday or Saturdays, we get an extra hour. So you can be closed at like 5 a.m. And a lot of us aren't getting home until like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't really want to do that anymore. You know, I'm getting tired. My body is like, it's feeling it. I was double shaking about a year ago, and I could feel it in my elbows. And I was like, so I know that, you know, this is not a renewable resource. So I have to take care of myself. And so I was thinking, what can I do to stay in this industry, but have a different lifestyle that's more sustainable, especially because eventually I want to be a family guy. So I wanted to start teaching classes. And so that was my goal. I wanted to teach culinary class or bartending classes at culinary, like kitchens like Italy or like Williams Sonoma. And I've been doing that over quarantine. So I've actually been working with brands and just like, you know, someone will be like, hey, so-and-so brand is doing a National Hot Toddy Day. Would you mind hosting that event? And I'm doing that, and I'm teaching consumers about the history of spirits and cocktails. And it's been great. And then by myself, I just been reaching out to consumers and hosting happy hours and teaching them how to make really cool cocktails with like the most basic stuff, which is fun for me because I get to work with like premium spirits. Working at the aviary, I can understand like these rare ingredients that you can get from this tea or this website or whatever. But really, I like teaching classes to just like the plain Jane and saying, hey, you can get these ingredients at your gas station or like Walgreens, and I'm going to show you how to make a great cocktail with whatever you have in your fridge. And it's great. I mean, I've also consulted for a juice company called Twisted Alchemy. And so they sold cold pressed juices to bars and clubs and whatnot that aren't open. So they ended up starting to sell it to consumers at home. And as an upsell, like, or a package, like I can teach you how to make cocktails with stuff that you have at home. And so they're really into like going into your cupboard and grabbing like different spices and herbs and making syrups with that, and like going in your fridge and grabbing like your jams and shaking with that. So it's nothing spectacular, but you can still make a really great balanced cocktail with, you know, your easy accessible ingredients. So
that is so fun and interesting. So obviously Chicago is a larger city, larger than Columbus. It's a large market as opposed to Columbus. So other than that, what has been the biggest difference between being a bartender in Columbus and being a bartender in Chicago?
That is a good question. Let's see, who's listening to this? Is this Columbus or Chicago? Because I gotta say which way to cater to.
Columbus.
I don't know. We're
all over the world.
I know. I just I still miss Columbus. I don't want to say that I'm homesick, but there are a lot of things about Columbus that I took for granted that I didn't get when I moved to Chicago. I miss the camaraderie that we have in Chicago. Or in Columbus, excuse me. I feel like in Chicago, we're a close-knit group. But from my experience, and I'm saying this to whoever's listening, a lot of my acquaintances or my friends, we're mostly drinking buddies. I'm not saying it's superficial. I can't find the word to replace that, but I miss that the friendships that I catered and culture to in Columbus, because I don't really feel like I'm getting that in Chicago. Like, we're really professionals. We do our work and we go out and we go and drink. But like, if there's like a day where I don't feel like drinking or whatever, like, I don't know who to call and say, hey, do you want to go and do something that's not booze related or booze focused? But I don't know.
So what I hear you saying is that the customers are much better in Columbus, like us, as opposed to.
Yes. Yeah,
No,
it's for me.
You don't have to cater to us. Come on.
No. Chicago is just it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hustling, and I just feel like a lot of things that I'm doing is just completely professional or just industry related, and like, it's kind of hard for me to take a woo-saw from that and do something that's, again, not industry related. Like, I would love to hang out with people. Maybe we can have a beer and drink a drink, but I don't want to talk specs. I don't want to hear about like, how do you make your daiquiris, or what do you think about this article in this book compared to this book? Like, I don't want to take
You need
my
a break. Everybody needs a reprieve. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, kudos to Columbus, because again, I came to Chicago because it's one, it's close, but also it's a bigger market. We have more access to different spirits that I didn't get there. But I will say, I think that Columbus, Ohio in general, can make fantastic things with what you have there. It's not like you need to have this rare stuff or the stuff that's not available in your city, because I have seen menus where they make cocktails that have 15 to 20 ingredients in their drink, and you can't taste any of that. It is all muddled. It's nothing. And I really feel like I'm putting a drop of this in here just to say it's on the menu, just to look cool. It doesn't change the flavor of the cocktail from most of the stuff that I had in my experience. But I think that if you gave the same stuff, the same package to a Columbus bartender and the same package to a Chicago bartender, I'm going to say the Columbus bartender is going to do more with what they have, because I feel like,
well, that is something that I think we've introduced almost every single one of our craft cocktail tours with that sentiment. It's something that we noticed, having traveled what little we have, but having traveled, that the people in Columbus, the bartenders in Columbus, learn how to create under restraints that they don't have in New York or Chicago or Vegas or LA. So,
well, and we visited the aviary when you weren't there, and we loved it. It was an amazing experience, but it's a destination place. It's not a place that you want to go, or that I would want to go like every night. It's not a neighborhood bar. It's a different experience.
Yeah.
And we always felt like the bartenders in Columbus exercise a lot of restraint when they're creating their cocktails. And there's a lot to be said for that, because like you said, ingredients get lost if you have too many of them.
And it's not necessarily making the cocktail any better. It's just adding ingredients to it.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the ego that's there, and it's too much for me.
So I will say that we have a new superintendent of liquor control here who actually likes alcohol. So we've seen a big difference in what we can get here in Columbus. Have you given any thought to coming back?
I had. I'm playing around with it for a lot of different reasons. I actually haven't really been back since I moved here. I did come back in September for a brief moment because I had all my stuff in the storage unit this entire time, but I was like, I got to stop paying for that. Let me bring it up here. But I spent about a week out there, and I definitely, even if I don't move back, I need to go back more often than I have. I know the quarantine times, it made it difficult because I couldn't really go out and see the people that I wanted to see. But like, you know, family wise, my brother needs a little kick in the butt. He needs a little bit of guidance. My grandparents are getting older and I want to spend some more time with them. I thought about coming back, but I think that if I do, it'd still be temporarily. I feel like I'm a nomad at heart and I want to go and see these different cities and stuff, but I would love to come back for a little bit at least.
Well, as you should. You're young, so you should explore. To your knowledge, do they have a cocktail tour in Chicago?
They do. I forgot the name. I think it's Chicago Walking Tour. They do like cocktails or like the historical things, and like the architecture is really big here. I actually just did a program with them. They're doing their virtual like history tours, and so what they would do is like for the first 15 minutes, they would have a bartender like just talk about a cocktail or a technique that you would use before they actually went to the focus of the topic. But yeah, that's something they do. I haven't done it myself outside of the virtual thing that I did just a couple of weeks ago, but I want to do that myself. I've actually not been a tourist in the city yet. So there's a lot of things that you would probably expect for me to have done that I can say I have not done yet.
Have you had a sidecar at the signature room in the Hancock Center?
No, I didn't know that was the thing to do.
My gosh.
That's where they were invented.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's where it was invented.
I think well, they claim it.
Maybe they do. I don't know. So Hancock Center, or it's not even the Hancock Center anymore, is it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
The old Sears Tower, right?
No. Hancock Center.
That's a Willis Tower now.
Yeah, no, not that. But anyway, the signature room, the signature bar, the sidecar is their signature cocktail, and they have an amazing space that's like floor to ceiling windows, and you're on the
85th floor or something.
It's higher than that, I feel like.
Wow.
It's where I had my 40th birthday party. It was amazing. The best part is the women's restroom. They have a window that looks out over Chicago. It's the most amazing view ever. You can't go in there. You'll never see that, but it's amazing. No, you have to go there. I mean,
okay, I didn't know that was a thing. I will have to do that. So the weird thing about this is that when I moved to Chicago, I just started traveling a lot. Like, there was a point where I was probably out of town 1 to 2 weeks every month doing some type of program. It wasn't for leisure, I would say. It was like me going to Mexico to like hang out with Patron and like learn about this stuff, and doing Portland Cocktail Week or Tales. And so Chicago's very expensive. And so I have to find an opportunity to make money when I'm here. And then it just like, after I do that, I go out for a week. So that's why I really haven't been able to like, breathe and go see some stuff. I know Christina Basham came to Chicago about 2 years ago, and we went to a couple places that, a tourist would want to see that I actually had not seen. So I find that I'm able to do these things when I have friends visit me, because they want to go see this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I've been here for 3 years and I haven't seen the Bean yet, And so doing things like that is like really cool and refreshing. But it was just hard for me to do because it's like anytime I had off, I was like out of town. And then when I was back, I just had to work, But I told myself last year, I was like 2020, because I might be going to a different city soon, maybe in another year or so. But I was like, I really want to spend my time in Chicago. So I was like, 2020 is the year for me to like just be a tourist in my city and go see this stuff. And then COVID happened and then shut down everything, and I couldn't do anything anyway. So I might stay a little bit longer, but I don't know. I got my eyes on like Boston and Austin and Portland, and I just want to see different markets and see what's going on, what's trending out there, and take it to whatever I'm doing. Because I think ultimately I'm just going to be a consultant, and I want to be able to understand what's going on in the world.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Good for you. So fun. To be young.
Yeah.
So have you been to the, was it the Velvet, or what was
The Violet Hour.
Violet Hour, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I have. Yeah, it's a really cool spot. It's very close to where I live, and I walked by it 1,000 times because it's actually hidden behind a mural.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I had a great time there. So I'm so active with our chapter in the USBG. So we've done some events there. when they weren't letting people inside, I was able to do a couple of like takeout cocktails or like dine on their patio out there for a moment. It's a really cool spot. I'm really impressed with their menu. There's actually a couple of places that don't look like they can make great classic cocktails, and they actually are very, very good at them. It's just a lot of their clients just want like beers and shots, and I understand that. But like, there's a really cool place that I used to go to in West Loop called the Money Gun, and it was like if I got off at the aviary, walk over there for like last call, and again they have some cool whiskeys and they have a lot of beer. But I saw they have like this list of like cocktails, and they had like, it wasn't like just an old fashioned or Manhattan. They had some weird stuff or some stuff I don't see all the time, like maybe a Jungle Bird or like a Hemingway daiquiri. And I was like, I wouldn't expect you to make that here. And I like ordered it, and I was like, okay, you guys actually know what you're doing. And I kudos to you for that. So I like places like that,
So if you come back to Columbus for a visit, could we rent a space and have like a Nigel Vann cocktail night where you just bartend and to all your old regulars who miss you so much?
I would love that. I would love to see and connect with familiar faces and friends. And I also kind of want to showcase a little bit of growth that I've had over the years, So
I don't know if you know this, but the jury room that was, I don't know if it was Blind Lady Tavern when you left.
Yeah,
was it?
It just became the jury room. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an event space that you can rent. So that would be so cool if, we could plan a date. You could come in town and
we can do a Nigel pop-up.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be amazing. And I would probably be holding back a couple of tears in my eyes a little bit. So a quick story about how I got into bartending. I worked at Polaris Mall into retail. I think I was at Sears or Hollister, one of those. And my coworker was a server at Cheeseburger in Paradise. And, working in retail, you get your check every 2 weeks. Well, he was working part-time at this restaurant on the weekend. And then he was like, I just made what we made in 2 weeks over the weekend. And I was like jealous. And then he was able to give me a job there. And I was 19 at the time. And I'm just serving cheeseburgers, and I'm like introducing myself as your Islander, wearing my cargo shorts and my pink polo. And I'm looking at the bartenders, and they seem like to be like the cool kids in like the high school or whatever, And so like as soon as I turned 21, they were like, hey, we need a bartender. Are you interested? And I was like, hell yeah. And I started bartending. I think it was literally on my 21st birthday, and it was great. I got to learn like 20 different mojitos. Like our mojito category was crazy. It was like different rums, and we had Mona and syrup that we would pump in there, maybe a little bit of fruity rum and whatever. But I got to work on my speed. I got to learn, my rums and my tequilas that they offered there at the moment. And then I just remember like a lot of beer was getting poured, because like we were bragging that our beer was like at 33 degrees or something. And so I was doing this a lot, and it was cool for a while, but then I was getting bored, because it's like, I'm not learning anything. I'm just pulling a lever. And so I think that's actually when I reached out to Chris, because Chris DeLavi was just always mentioned in like the local magazines, about the cocktail culture, and she was doing some cool things. So I literally was like, I just reached out on Facebook, and I was like, you're doing a lot of cool things that I would like to do. I was like, can you recommend a website, a book, or any resource that I can do to like just learn more? And so she introduced me to the USBG, but beyond that, she was like, you know what, I'm doing this competition this day. Why don't you come and see me? And then like we met, we had lunch, and she's been my mentor. And she's she's consulting, helping different bars over around the city. And I was kind of like her unofficial opening team. So that's when we worked at like Pies Pizzeria, like out in Reynoldsburg. At Prohibition, that was in Powell. I got to learn my classic cocktails up there. And then ultimately I came to work at M for a little bit. And that's when I said I was a little bit shy, because there was too many wines. And I was like, what? You have more than 3 cabs, But with the USBG, like for me, I think I'm the kind of person, so whatever I do, I'd like to put my all into it. So like, I worked in like in retail, and I did a lot of stuff with acting, and like tried to do some stuff with film, and I like put all my energy into it. So like when I started bartending, this was really just a way for me to make money. And I thought it was a cool skill to have, because in case I get discovered and are like, we need you to move to New York or Hollywood, I was like, I can do that. And I have a skill where I can make money. And I just remember my parents were like, that's cool. And then they were also like, what's your next step? You're going to go back to school? You're going to get like that real job? And I was like, no. I was like, bartending is amazing because no matter what the economy is, I'm going to have money. I was like, if it's bad, people are going to come out and drink. If the sorrow's away, if it's good, they're going to come out and celebrate. I had no idea about a pandemic where they could just like no bar whatsoever. So this year was an eye opener. But anyway, I just fell in love with bartending, and it became a skill that I just wanted to be good at if I was doing it. And then it just became like a passion of mine, and I just really put my entire self in it, and it's been paying off. I think the moment when I realized that like I made it was when I had opportunities coming to me. I wasn't seeking out positions here and there. It was like, hey, do you want to work at the aviary? Or like when Chris invited me to join the staff at M, I was like, oh, you guys see something in me. And then in Chicago, it's just been really cool because of the stuff that I was able to do to make it through quarantine. I'm having these brands reach out to me to host their classes and teach their events. And and now I'm having non-liquor brands reach out to me to collaborate. And I'm going on my Instagram and I'm checking my DMs, and it's a job opportunity. And it's just like, it just really validates that I've been doing something right, and I love it.
Well, you have, and you're obviously very good at what you do, and you're such a sweetheart. Like, who doesn't love Nigel Vann? I love all of your posts. I don't go on social media that much, but when I do, I see you, and I love what you're doing. I love following you. It's so much fun.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I post some stuff and I'm like, this is embarrassing, or it's funny, or maybe just a little bit. But that's who I am. I like to combine all of my interests in a way. Like, I love music, I love art, I love acting, and so like ideally, if I could find a way to collaborate all of that energy into like something really cool, that would be what I could do for life. So for example, I got invited to this Maker's Mark event last week. They sent me the bio of like 4 local celebrities. You had an actor, comedian, singer, a poet, and they wanted me to create some drinks just based off of a few lines off their their career. And I did that, and it was really cool. I got to make these drinks up and then offer these drinks. It was like a film event too, and I didn't know, but I gave them the drink and I was like, I put this in here because it represents this part of you, and you're doing this. And so I felt like it had to be showcased like this. And I was just really nervous because, again, this is off of your bio. And I'm like, what if I put something with coconut in it? And they're like, I can't have coconut. Like, I'm allergic to it. I'm like, well, this is embarrassing. But no, it was just a really cool thing because I got to like use my expertise in cocktail making and combine it with, music and acting and all this other stuff that I'm into, and just like, voila. And so like, if I could do that, like I said, I would be just a happy guy for the rest of my life.
It's so fun.
So what inspires you? What inspires you to create cocktails? Do you start with a flavor or a name, or what is it?
That's a good question. I get inspired by a little bit of everything. Like, so I did a Maker's Mark competition last year, and I was just thinking of that song, like, we don't have to take our clothes off. And what I did is, I'm a punny guy, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna swap out clothes with clove. And so I was like, And so I made this cocktail that was it had garlic in it, garlic, and I put a little bit of cheddar and some chocolate bitters in there. So I was like, it was for restaurant week, and so I really wanted to do something that was like food focused and something like rare and adventurous. But it started off with just the name. Like, I just I had to have a pun in that name. But for the most part, like when I'm making cocktails, I think it's because where I'm at now, the Berkshire Room, we're known for dealer's choices. And that's when you just come in and say, I want, this particular spirit, this flavor profile. And I even get to choose the glassware. So I can be like, I want a Nick Nora or on the rocks in a coupe. And what I do is I usually build my cocktails around the spirit. And so there are a lot of bartenders out there who actually, when they're building their cocktails, whether they know what they're building or not, they start with their modifiers and they end building it with their spirit. I can't follow that rule. I have tried so many times because they're like, in case you mess up, like you're not wasting the expensive stuff. I'm like, or you can just know what you're doing and not mess up. But because I taste as I go, I always use the spirit first because that's what I want to showcase. So I want to make sure that I'm not adding too many things in there that's hiding the agave notes that's in your mezcal or tequila, or like if I'm using this particular rye for a reason, I want you to be able to taste those factors in your cocktail. So I think that adding it last, you just again muddied your cocktail, in my opinion. That's not
well, and there are some of the modifiers like Carpano Antica and Chartreuse that are much more expensive than the base spirits.
Yes. So yeah, so I can get inspired by just about anything. I even have a book where like if I want to do a cocktail series, like I want to make these cocktails based off of zodiac signs, and so that's what I do. Or like colors. I know like for Pride Week, it's like, I want to do my red, my orange, and all the way down for that. But yeah, anything and everything. I can get inspired before I even think that I was inspired because I just saw or heard something. But I like to make it fun, make it light, and because I want to take the ego out. No pretentiousness around here, in my opinion.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Love that. We miss you so much, but we love to watch your growth and everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to bring you back here for a very special, and we, us, we'll cover all your expenses, put you up and promote it and do all the things. I think that would be amazing. Once we open back up, which I think we're getting to that point now.
Yeah, I can't keep track of, like, I don't know if Chicago's just a little bit more harsh than the rest of the world, but like there are cities that are like, I feel like they never even shut down or had regulations. And I think that, didn't you just lift your curfew? So now your bars are open until 2 now?
Curfew just lifted. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I can get out there. But I would love to. I would just love to be home again, for a brief period of time. And by brief, I mean I'll probably end up being out there for like 3 weeks and not tell anybody. But that's I'd love to see you. And also I want to thank you because you guys did sponsor me when I went to Tales for the first time, and that was definitely a highlight in my career because by doing something like that, it definitely opens up the doors. It's one of those things where like you can just say you capped, and everyone seems to be impressed by that sometimes. And so it's just weird. I get opportunities just because of that in my background, or there's people who just reach out to me because I'm in Chicago, and that's why it's kind of hard for me to leave just for those opportunities, but I'm trying to gain them myself and build my own brand. So you could be like, no matter where I go, you would need me. But yeah, so you were definitely an impact on something that was very impactful to me. And so I know I thanked you before, but I have to continue to do so.
Well, we appreciate that. And we tried to continue on with that, but then COVID hit. So our big thing was, so we started a cocktail convention here in Columbus. It was the first cocktail convention in the state of Ohio. We did it
September of 2019.
Yeah. It was so amazing. It was like a miniature Tales of the Cocktail, but it culminated in a bartender chef competition where, in our world, the cocktail is always the star of the show. So the bartender made a cocktail, and then they had a chef with them that created an amuse-bouche to pair with their cocktail. So we had 3 sets of bartenders and chefs in this competition. It was just so much fun. Like our studio audience got to taste the amuse-bouche and the cocktail along with the judges. So it was just super fun. And we hope to do that again. We're going to start planning
we're
the
hoping
2021
it'll happen this year.
So we're trying to do more things to highlight the amazing work that you guys do and the amount of work that goes into creating your cocktails. I think that's what's lost in Columbus that probably isn't lost in Chicago is that, in Columbus, I feel like the majority of the customers don't understand the amount of work and thought that goes into a cocktail. And so like, I hope, and I've said this 100 times on this podcast, I hope that this COVID is a reset for Columbus to raise their prices on cocktails and that people understand that, there's a lot of work that goes into this shit. There's some amazing ingredients and a
lot of thought and time and effort.
Yeah, and they're all professionals who are creating these amazing cocktails. So we need to pay $15 for a cocktail, like that just should be something
Yeah.
that we just get used to.
Yeah, that would be amazing. You said a lot of things that just made me think of some other things too. So I was gonna say, if there's any new bartenders that are listening to this podcast right now, one thing that I think that will help you a lot is if you were able to spend some time to work with the chef and actually understand flavors. So, like I said, I worked at, a restaurant as a server, and then I got my way into being a bartender, because I know there's a lot of people who want to start off as bartenders right away. And I think that's very, very difficult unless you're very, very pretty, because some people are just like, that's how they get their job right away. But for me, it's a spot that you have to earn. But I learned the most when I actually worked at M with the late Jeff Robolt, because he was a French trained chef, and he taught me about flavor combinations. And he introduced me to a lot of terminology. And as I see that a lot of cocktail trends are starting to mimic the stuff that you would find in the kitchen, we're using a lot of the same tools. And so that helps me, especially when I'm creating cocktails for competitions, and to get that edge, I'm trying to like think about, not only make a great cocktail, but like, what would this pair with food, or how would this complement, a 3-course meal, if that's what I'm doing. So if you ever get a chance to work with a chef and just go back and forth on flavors, like you can have a cocktail, and let's say you're trying to create something, I can give it to my friends, and my friends are going to be like, oh, that's great, that's amazing, that's great, that I love it. But that's because they're my friends. I'm looking for someone who actually understands and has a trained palate that goes, you should think about adding a little bit of like herbaceous notes to this, or like play around with some salinity, because that's really going to brighten up and hide some of that sugar and stuff like that. That feedback is what I need to grow. Being told that it's great, it's good, I mean, you can't go anywhere from there. That's a plateau.
Yeah.
So working with someone who understands flavors is something that is invaluable in your resources.
That's great advice.
Yeah, but yeah. So what I'm trying to do, I'm switching the subject really quick, is again, I'm trying to be a mentor to my community, because I remember where I was, and there were so many questions that I wanted to ask that I was embarrassed to. To be honest, I was embarrassed to say that I worked in a bar in a mall, and didn't feel like I was good enough with anyone who was working in Short North or German Village. I felt like that was a clique that I could not get into. And so I know what that's like. And so I'm looking for people around me who may feel like they're in that position. Like I know people who are like, I'm not a good bartender because I work at Chili's, or I work at Olive Garden or stuff like that. And I will tell you, me with that background for about 5 years, I learned some of the best stuff that I still use today in my professional and my personal life, because that teaches you structure. Like I've worked with like craft bars that are just one off, and like they don't have the background. It's like a learn as you go thing, and it gets chaotic, and like we don't know what we would do if such and such happened, or this emergency happened, or whatever. But like working at a chain in a corporation, like we have our plan A to Z, and so like that's something that you can take away from that. So like I like to consider myself like this giant puzzle piece, and like whatever I do, I'm not ashamed that it happened to me, because it's helped me get to where I am today, and it's going to help me to get where I am going tomorrow. And so again, like I said, I'm not going to retire from being behind the bar, but I want to switch gears, and I want to, mentor new bartenders. I want to teach a lot of people at home who can't go out and have great cocktails. I want to teach them how to make good cocktails with what they have at home and what they can easily get down the street. And so like, I want to do it in a fun way, a friendly way, take the ego out. Cause I don't like pretentious bartenders. I don't like bartenders who make drinks for bartenders. And like, I remember I'm not gonna say the bar, but I sat down at a bar, and someone was like, I'll take this drink that has like chinar. And they were like, it's chinar. They're like, you don't know what chinar is, and blah, blah, blah. And they said this to a guest, and I'm like, how are you supposed to, it's hospitality, and that's the joke that we say. We're like, that's your mixologist, and like your bartender is the homebody that's here for you. And I'm like, you can order a drink, you can say a Vu Carry, and I will not embarrass you, but I'll say, here's your Vu Carré, and I'll give you a couple of facts about it so you understand what you're drinking. And like, it's a popular drink in New Orleans.
I love that.
Blah. And so it's not a way for me to correct you, but it is a way for me to lightly say, this is what it is, and what you're drinking. And I like that. And honestly, I think that's why I'm able to build the, I don't want to say fan base, but the relationships that I've had over the years with my guests, and, turning a stranger into a regular, and turning a regular into a potential friend, where we can do things like this. Like that's,
right.
for me, it's worth it. I don't really care to be the best bartender in the city, in the world, or whatever, and say that I worked here and here and here. Like I want to build this, and I don't, so that's my goal.
I think that's why you're so successful, clearly, because you're such a beautiful person and you love your craft. You work hard for it, but you're a good guy at the end of the day. You're just a good kid. Well, we're so proud of you. We are in the big city. Look at you in the big city.
Well, thank you.
Making it happen.
I appreciate it. And my heart warms up every time I hear Columbus pop up in anything. Like, I know your chapter of the USVG is just doing amazing things. Like, I work with it in Chicago. I've done some stuff with it nationally. And when I hear how good Columbus's USVG chapter is going, when I hear the cool things that Jillian's doing and Christina Basham has done, Chris is doing, like, I still have pride. I'm still rooting for my home team. And it's just amazing. And I just, especially when I'm in bigger markets and it gets recognized. So, like, I'm doing something in like New York and they're like, "Oh, have you heard about well, it's not open anymore, but Curio. Is Curio open or it's not?"
No. Closed.
But when I hear about like really cool popular bars in Chicago that other people are bragging about, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
I think that you guys are starting to get the notoriety that that you deserve. I can't say we anymore. I'm no longer there, but it's really cool to see you get the recognition and to see that people are getting the respect that they deserve. And I don't think that Columbus, Ohio is something that you should just overlook because it's a smaller market.
You can always say we, Nigel. You're one of us. You can't run from that. No matter how hard you try to get away, you're still one of us. No, but I think you're right. I think that people are going to recognize Columbus as a force in the cocktail scene because we have the best bartenders here. Sometimes they move away like you did, but we have amazing bartenders here.
Yeah, that's
that's
also very, very bittersweet. To see all the cool bartenders move away and do the things like Alex Chien was one of them.
We love him so much.
I know. I was like, I think that we all should just come back for a little bit and do like a little, pop up.
Yes, Nigel and Alex, wouldn't that be fun? I don't even know where he is now. I'll have to find that kid.
Yeah.
I think he's like a big time rep or something now, right?
I think he's looking for a party. I think with Bombay.
Okay.
If he's listening to this, I'm sorry if I'm saying anything wrong, but I just know when I left, I wanted to see the world, but I also wanted to come back and share what I've learned and give back to what gave me. So maybe we'll plan it out. We'll do something really cool.
Yes, we should. And we should plan it sooner rather than later. I would love to plan it like right when we open back up. But I know you're going to be busy then too. So we really have to be.
You'll take priority. I got to go back. I got to go back to Columbus when Columbus is open. So
that's awesome. So we're going to sell
out. Virtual world. This is the virtual world now. So all I need is a laptop, a phone, a camera, a little bit of light, and I can do whatever I'm doing wherever I am.
Right. So. Very, very true.
But you look amazing.
Thank you. I just kind of not reinvented, but I just really worked with myself in 2020. That's what I spent my time on.
Good.
Just
Good.
Get my body right and read a couple of books, worked on what I can do to start my own business with educating and consulting, and I'm ready for the things that 2021 is going to bring me. So awesome.
Well, let us know how we can help you with that, because we love you. We think you're amazing, and you're a huge talent. So.
Well, thank you.
So while we've heard some great stories about everything that you've done from the beginning to now, do you have any good bar stories, you'd like to share that are fun, funny, salacious, you name it, just something for our listeners to laugh about as we leave?
I get to meet a lot of swingers. That's something that's fun. I got introduced to that in PAL at Prohibition. Not to put everybody there on the spot. Not everybody there is a swinger, but I noticed that when I worked in that area, there weren't a lot of people who looked like me. And so some people wanted to add my kind of spice to their life, which is flattering, I guess. But I got it a lot when I worked at these last 2 bars in Chicago because they're in hotel bars, so people are going out and getting a room and they're coming upstairs, they're coming to see me, and then, they'll give me a tip and then their card is part of that, So I'm like, oh, it makes me feel like I'm doing something right when it comes to my haircut. I was like, oh, they like my haircut today. Awesome. They like this shirt. But it's just funny the amount of like hotel cards you can collect if you're into that.
That's awesome.
So that's the perk of working in a hotel, or not the perk, but that's the stories that you can take away from there. To each their own.
It could be a perk if you take advantage of it, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just funny. After a couple of drinks, you're like, oh, who's this? From 414. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Awesome.
That's amazing. I feel like we could do a TV show about that. So do you have a journal? Do you keep a journal?
I do.
Okay, good.
I have my personal one and I'm like, dear diary, today was a good day. I have my bar one. So when we do a lot of dealer's choices, when we're making up cocktails on the spot, that's really fun for me because it's a challenge of all of my experiences. I'm putting that together and making something great. But it's also very hard. It can be, because I'll have a guest that will sit down and I'm like, just make me up something, and I can do that. And then like sometimes they're really specific on what they want, but they also want that way like for 5 or 6 drinks. So you're like, I don't know what else I could do to make it so you haven't had the same stuff you had before. But the hardest part for me is when I'm working service. So when you're working service, you're making drinks for the entire lounge or the restaurant, if you would. And so I have these tickets, and it's just like a dealer's choice, and it's like vodka, spicy, and a rocks glass. And I'll make a drink, and 45 minutes later, I'll get a ticket and goes like same drink as before. And by that time on a Friday or Saturday night, I had made like 80 cocktails prior to that. And I'm like,
don't remember.
I don't know yet. So
sure.
If you're ever in that position, a little cheat, and I'm sorry to say this to spoil any secrets, you can just play around with the same 5 cocktails for that night. That's what I do. I'm like, all right, today I'm going to do some sour twists and some black Manhattan twists, and they're all going to be the same. So no matter what the flavor profile is, if I forget the cocktail, I know it's going to be a twist off of this one cocktail.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And so it's what I tell everybody. It's playing Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah.
Just taking out that nose, replacing it with something else, and then it's a whole different cocktail.
Yeah.
Some people will say that's cheating or that's lazy, but I'm telling you, when we have like 150 covers that night and that's all they want are DCs, you gotta be easy on yourself.
Yeah. And that's not cheating, and that's just
being smart.
Yeah, that's being smart and efficient. And as a patron, we probably wouldn't notice the difference if you like.
Let me tell you, if you're sitting at my bar and you're having like 6 cocktails, and I'm trying not to put the same Amaro in all your Amaro forward cocktails, I think by that 6th one, you probably would recognize that it might have been the same or very similar to that first one.
Well, by the 6th one, I might not have.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoy what I do. I mean, anything in my life, even as a kid, I didn't say I wanted to be a bartender when I grew up, but I wanted to be creative. I wanted to meet people, and I wanted to travel. So no matter what I'm doing in life, as long as I'm able to get those 3, I'm happy. And I was able to get all of that and then some doing what I do, and that's being your bartender.
Oh,
that's awesome.
That's so awesome.
Love that.
You're so amazing. Nigel, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do our podcast. We really appreciate it. We miss you so much. And we definitely want to do a Nigel Vann night in Columbus at the Jury Room. You just tell us whenever it works for you.
We'll figure something out.
We'll figure it out. We'll fly you here. Put you up, and then we'll do I think that people really miss you here, so it would be really fun to do that.
I would highly enjoy it, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen sooner than later, as we said. So thank you so much. And
absolutely. All right, well, you stay safe.
do the same. Enjoy these drinks. Drink a little bit of water every once in a while, everybody. Take care of your body. You only have one until science, evolves. But thank you for this opportunity. I miss and love all of you guys. So.
Love you
Thanks,
too.
Nigel. Take care. Cheers.
Listeners, please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Seabus Craft Cocktail Tour, and visit our website at columbuscraftcocktailtour.com for cocktail tour dates, women and whiskey tastings, and other events and merchandise. Thanks to our producer, Greg Hansberry, and to the biographer for our original music. Please remember to drink responsibly, tip appropriately, and be cocktail curious. Cheers!
This has been a Last Call Productions production.